You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and doing another solo episode today. I'm getting the hang of it a little bit. But you know what? I'm super excited because today was the first day of 49ers training camp, and I was just excited to be there. It felt like the first day of school after a long summer break. It just having all the players together, it was incredible energy. There were so many fans there today, and so definitely going to be giving you guys a piece of what I observed today while I was there. First, let's talk about some of the news that came out before practice. Kyle Shanahan had a presser before practice took place today, and one of the things he said was that Deebo Samuel was not going to be participating, but he would be conditioning on the sideline, and that he did. This was kind of expected because we've been talking about this holding in thing. Players can't really hold out like they used to. So Deebo Samuel is practicing the hold in where he, is present at training camp, but he is not actually participating technically in any like drills or anything like that. So he was conditioning on the sideline. He was there. To me, he looked good. There was some times like during 11-on-11s, for example, he took some time to hang out with the guys on, the sideline and observe. And to me, he seemed engaged. And just as we've been saying, like, nothing about this strikes me as a guy who wants to leave or who isn't in good terms with the team. And as Kyle Shanahan has been saying, the team has been in contact with Deebo's agent. They've been pretty much talking every day at this point. So we can expect some good things to be happening there soon. Now, moving on to Trent Williams. That was another piece of news that we got today. He did not practice today. He was excused due to a family matter. Hope everything's all right with Trent. At the end of the day, if he does not practice during training camp, it's not even a big deal. Trent Williams is one of the best left tackle. He is the best left tackle in the league. Come on. And so it's not a big deal if he misses one practice. And actually it made for some interesting looks on the offensive line today, which I'll get to in a bit. Shanahan also gave an update on Jason Verrett, who was placed on the PUP list. He said that they hope to have him back at some point during camp, and he should be good to go by week 1. That is some great news. Verrett, of course, as you guys know, has been rehabbing from a torn ACL, so this is all positive news for him. The next piece was Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, we knew that he was not going to be participating in training camp, obviously, but Kyle Shanahan did say that he did his throwing program today. I don't know why I did that in air quotes. Throwing program this morning at the facility before, most of the team even got there. And Kyle said he thought that Jimmy Garoppolo had left for the day. It turns out, and this is as reported by Angie, my old co-host. Shout out to Angie. She was there today. Jimmy was actually there in the building. He was seen hanging out in the weight room and talking to a few of the players. So, interesting that he, still stuck around, I guess. But again, he didn't participate in anything. It's not a big deal. He's not going to participate in anything. So, that's the only update on Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers also released Dee Ford. This bit of news happened after practice. Dee Ford was released. We saw this coming. We saw the writing on the wall. The 49ers, with this move, save $1.12 million in cap space. And I mean, I think we can reflect on this move as it being a roller coaster a bit. I mean, it was unfortunate that D Ford could never really overcome his injuries. And I mean, honestly, I wish him the best if he is able to, uh, stick on another team somewhere. I think he'd be a great backup or, contribute to a team that's out there. So unfortunately, it did not work out with the 49ers as we had hoped when it comes to D Ford. He did help along that 2019 Super Bowl run, but that was pretty much the extent of his contributions with the 49ers, unfortunately. Now let's get to the good part. The 49ers, new QB1. Whoops, wrong thing. New QB1, Trey Lance. Shout out to KNBR for this video. And I'll just say, we were all very excited, all very pumped up to see Trey Lance for the first time working as the QB1 in training camp. And I thought, I didn't see a whole lot of him. I will say that the offense was on the opposite side of the field for much of the time, so it was kind of hard to see what they were doing over there. I need to get some binoculars or something. I'm gonna work on that. But from what I heard, he did complete 9 of 11 throws. One of the throws that I saw actually was, and I would think one of the most notable of the day for Trey, was a sideline throw to George Kittle during 11 on 11s. That was a pretty nice one. And one of the incompletions I should mention was I think was not, on Trey Lance. I think it was a great play by Emmanuel Moseley, because I've seen a lot of people talking about, Trey Lance's first pass in practice was an incompletion. Well, the only thing I have to say about that is I saw the pass. The pass was on the money. The fact was that Emmanuel Moseley just made a great play on the pass and ended up not being caught by Juwan Jennings. So I don't blame Trey Lance for that. But 9 of 11 throws is still really good. And I think it's just day one, people. There's a lot to look forward to here. And definitely I think we'll see even better days out of Trey Lance. Now, let's talk about the trenches a little bit. Sorry, there's not much on Trey Lance to talk about. I wish I could talk about him the entire episode, but really there wasn't anything super spectacular that we have to spend 5-10 minutes on. So let's talk about the offensive line and the defensive line. First, shout out to Jordan, shout out to Brad. Both of them were there today. I got to sit with them. And I just want to say, when I'm next to them, I feel like I feel dumb, honestly, because they're so football smart, and I just listen. I just listen to them talk because they could spit, they be spitting, and just the goats at what they do, honestly. So make sure you guys follow them if you don't already. They're going to be there at camp, I'm pretty sure, all of the days as well. So make sure you're following them because they're going to be updating as well. Brad, he does his lives every day. So, great content out of these two. Now, looking at Jordan's tweet here. So the defense started off in a base 4-3. And as you can see, there aren't any surprises at all with these names and who was involved here. In fact, you probably can't see the very bottom of that tweet, but let me just make sure that I didn't cut anything off there because of my, yeah, no, you can see everything. Okay. So yeah, the defensive line, no surprises there. But when you look at the offensive line, that's when things get really interesting. You had Colton Mckibbins, as we mentioned. Trent Williams was out for the day. So Colton Mckibbins got promoted for the day at starter at left tackle. And it's interesting. I mean, we also had left guard Aaron Banks Aaron Banks, we presume, will be the starter at left guard this year. So I guess that one's not too surprising. Then we have at center Jake Brendel. This one's not very surprising. I mean, it could have been either Jake Brendel or Daniel Brunskill here. The interesting thing is that you would think Brunskill would be starting at right guard if he's not at center. Well, that's not the case. You see here, Spencer Burford was at right guard to start the day, and he pretty much stayed there the entire day with the first team unit at right guard. So Brunskill was working with the second team actually at center, and that's really interesting. But at the same time, this is the first day of camp. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces here. There's going to be a lot of musical chairs as they figure out what are they going to do with these two positions. So I honestly just think we can't make too much of this currently. I think we just got to wait and see, what happens within these next 2 weeks. I think they're going to try a different bit of combinations in both the center and right guard position throughout these 2 weeks. So this just so happened to be the look on day one. So, and then you'll see at right tackle, we have Mike Mcglinchey, who, is coming back from his injury, and they're ramping him up slowly. First, he did start, but there were some times where they would take him out the first team just to, make sure that they're easing him in and not giving him too much to do too soon. The one thing that I keep seeing about Mike Mcglinchey, and I saw it myself too, is that a lot of people are worried that he is too skinny at the moment. And what I'll say about that is I'm not too concerned about it. And I'll tell you why, because I think this is the weight he wants to be at for the most part. He mentioned, if you guys watched the interview that Brad did with Mike Mcglinchey, it was not that long ago. So if you go to Brad's channel, the SF Niners, you will see it over there. You will see that Mike Mcglinchey did make comments about his weight, and he did say that he is at a lower weight and that is his preferred weight, the same weight that he played in, a couple of years ago. Now, I've also noticed people say that when he was at that lower weight, that's when he kind of looked bad, and bigger edge guys were just taking advantage of him, especially on the bull rush. Like, he couldn't really handle the bull rush. But I don't know. This is a different year. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just happy Mike Mcglinchey is back. So, not too worried about it. And regarding the offensive line altogether, as I said, I wouldn't get too hung up on, how things are looking right now. It's the first day. Kyle alluded to there being different looks and Mike Mcglinchey being ramped up as we go. So it is what it is at the moment. Now, moving on to safety. One of the comments I made on Twitter was that I'm not sure that there is a competition at strong safety. And I just kind of left that at that. What I meant by that is, honestly, based on what we heard about Hufanga throughout minicamp, and based on just his huge involvement towards the end of last season, and the fact that he was the starter at strong safety pretty much the entirety of today's training camp practice, I think it's Hufanga's spot to lose, honestly. And, you're going to hear me say this, and I'll say it now. Yes, it's just day one, right? It's just the first day of practice, of training camp, and a lot can change. So I'm definitely open to that. Like, I know this. But when you look at the fact that he started today, joined with all of the other things that we've heard about him throughout this offseason, I do really feel like Hufanga has that spot locked down at the moment. Could things change? Certainly. But again, it's Hufanga's spot to lose, and I think he looked pretty good there today. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was the first player out on the field today. We keep hearing about, his incredible work ethic, and he's more comfortable this year. And I think that is going to translate more than some people give him credit for. So let's just see, what he does and how he looks. While we're on the topics of the secondary, let's talk about the cornerbacks. Charvarius Ward, for example. To me, Charvarius Ward, he looked really good. I don't know if I saw him allow any catches, but I'm not sure. There's a lot going on. I might have missed that. I don't know, but I didn't see him allow any catches. I thought Mosley looked really good as well. Mosley had a couple of good pass breakups. One in particular versus Juwan Jennings, the one I mentioned earlier. So there was also a secondary drill that they were doing that Kyle Shanahan was actually the one throwing the ball. He was a quarterback for that. And Charvarius Ward had an interception during that drill. And okay, let me explain the drill, right? So Kyle Shanahan was a quarterback. So take all of this with the grain of salt or make of it what you will. Kyle Shanahan was the quarterback, and it was the entire secondary, and there was also receivers. But I say receivers with quotations because the receivers were like the trainers and, assistants and things like that. So they weren't players. So it's kind of a, gimme drill where you're just trying to get pass breakups, get to the ball, etc. Charvarius Ward, as I mentioned, he had an interception. Deommodore Lenoir, he had an impressive snag in the air that I thought was, really good, showed his athleticism. And Tariq Castro-Fields, I thought he had a really good day. He had 2 interceptions on the day, and he was hustling out there. And actually, it was interesting enough. He wasn't a big interception guy in college, so the fact that he got 2 today was interesting. But again, this particular drill was a very, it was a gimme drill. Like, the whole premise of it is to try to get interceptions, try to get to the ball. So I thought that he did that really well. What's going on, Zach? Sorry, Zach, I already talked about Hufanga, but let me just repeat myself that basically the reason that I said there's no competition at strong safety is because I do think it's Talanoa Hufanga's spot to lose. It just based on everything that I saw throughout, today he was the starter at strong safety throughout the entirety of today's practice, and then join that with the fact, everything that we've heard about him throughout, this offseason, mini camp, the hype's been building. Melissa, Hufanga Hive. Really excited about him. I mean, he has a work ethic, as I mentioned a little bit ago, and so it's easy to root for him for sure. So, but if you want the full explanation on that, you can catch the replay. But I gave you guys the cliff notes really quick. But I was just talking about the cornerbacks, and I thought the cornerbacks did pretty good today too. Tariq Castro-Fields, as I mentioned, he was getting after the ball. I think he did what he had to do, and I think he impressed today. In that secondary drill that I was talking about, Leon O'Neal Jr. had an interception as well. I thought he had a pretty solid day as well, considering the fact that he's an undrafted free agent. All right, Zach says, Hufanga's season is rising again. We were both high on him last year, so it's amazing to see. Yeah, definitely. And again, I think the one thing that I keep saying about Hufanga that I love, this is my favorite thing about him, is his work ethic, because I really do feel like that goes a long way. Kind of reminds me of myself, because I'm like I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I will, work to get to where I need to be. And so, like, it kind of reminds me of myself. That's stupid, but But, Hufanga, I think he's a very, somewhat relatable guy in that sense. And, yeah, I'm excited for him to have a bigger role this year, and hopefully he can make the most of it, right? So I feel pretty good, though, that he's going to be getting, starter reps. And as we heard, he's more comfortable, so I think that will go a long way. I think he's due for a year 2 leap. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. You're very nice. All right, moving on to some of the wide receivers. All right. Brandon Layuk, I thought he looked great today. I think he saw the most targets out of anyone. And most of his targets actually came from Nate Sudfield. Nate Sudfield had a great day. Let me talk about Nate Sudfield really quick. Nate Sudfield was 11 for 11 today. And, he went for the checkdowns. He went for the short passes. But, that's okay. As long as you are efficient, he's competing for a backup position, right? So he doesn't have to go all out. But in fact, he did have a really nice throw, really deep throw down the sideline. And I'm now forgetting who that was to. It was to... Oh my God, where did I write that? My notes are a mess. My notes are an absolute mess today. I'm never writing notes again. Oh, number 17. Malik Turner. I don't know everyone's numbers off the top of my head right now, so that's why sometimes my notes are a mess, and most of them are just numbers. Sudfield had a really good day. He had a dart to Layuk over the middle during 11 on 11s. Lance during 11 on 11s had a keeper for a pretty big gain. Though at the same time, I do want to mention the fact it's Steph with the messy notes. Yeah, dude. I'm going to retire the notes, I think, because I rather just tweet out my observations. I barely tweeted today because I was focused on writing all of this stuff down. So I think I'm just going to do away with the notepad. I don't know. Yeah, Lance keeper for a big game. The one thing I will say about, Lance running or just any of the running backs is the fact that I want to remind everyone that this is all the players don't have pads on, and they're not truly tackling, right? So I just want to remind people of that. So you're going to see running backs get big gains all the time because they're not actually tackling. They're not trying to tackle. So I wouldn't put too much stock in what the running backs are doing, but I would just trust the fact that we know Kyle Shanahan running backs are always going to, look good in this offense. So let's just leave it at that. And of course, Lance is going to get his as a runner as well. But, in practice, every run looks like it's a touchdown, but in actuality, it probably would not be. Let me circle back to some of these comments really quick because I want to get to some of these. All right, Zach asks, who were your standouts overall just from day one? Well, I think I mentioned a couple, Tariq Castro-Fields was definitely one of them. And I do want to preface, well, I guess not preface, but at this point I want to also mention that I can't see everything, right? I am sitting on the bleachers where all of the other fans are, and there's 2 fields. And a lot of the times, at least in this practice, day one, the offense was on the far field, so it was very hard to see what the hell was going on over there. So most of the time, we were looking at the secondary drills that was directly in front of us. That's why I saw a lot of the Castro Fields action. It was happening right in front of me. So that's not to say that someone on the offense was not having a good day either. It's just that just so happened to be what I saw. Let's see. So yeah, Castro Fields. Also, Mosley had a really good day as well. He was after it. Let's see. Zach asks, any players you think need more work? Ooh, it's kind of early to say day one. There was, and I don't always see who, like, I see numbers, but again, I don't know all the numbers off the top of my head. So, there was one, it might have been Leon O'Neal. He had one play where it didn't look like he went all in for that one play, but that was it. I think it's too early to say, like, if a player needs a lot of work based on, what I saw out there. Let's see. What's up, Rohan? Yeah, Rohan is a beast. He's awesome. Make sure you guys follow him and subscribe to his YouTube as well, because he's putting out great content. He was out there today. He's going to be at all the practices as well. So if you guys can't get enough of 49ers content, make sure you follow Rohan as well. All right. Man, you guys are like talking to each other in the comments. I love that. How cool is Steph that she can stream from an airport, hotel room, anywhere? Yeah, I mean, I gotta make it work. Today is not a hotel room. I'm at my sister's place, not too far from Levi Stadium, so it's perfect. But yeah, it might as well be a hotel room, right? Like, it's, I got the setup. Like, I brought my microphone and everything. We're serious out here. All right. Melissa asks or says, Steph, thoughts on Shanny not hearing about arm fatigue till Brandon Layuk and Lance laughed about it at lunch, then made fun of it by calling it arm soreness. Oh, that's a good cap or no cap, huh? Cap or no cap. Do you think it was Shanahan's first time hearing about arm fatigue when Lance and Ayuk brought it up? That's a tough one. I'm gonna say that's no cap, because Kyle Shanahan strikes me as a guy who never goes on social media, like, ever. And the only way I think that he would hear about anything that people say on social media is if they tell him, which I'm sure happens all the time. It happened with the arm fatigue thing. I think it's pretty funny, though, actually, that he didn't know about it. It's like, how do you not know about it? Everyone was making such a big deal about it. But yeah, I believe that he didn't know about it, and I think it's hilarious that they laughed about it. Again, for those of you that didn't hear, this arm fatigue thing, Kyle Shanahan did somewhat acknowledged it. He said that, yeah, there was one practice and training camp last year that Trey Lance had arm soreness. And that's the extent of it. That's pretty much it. It's not a concern at this point. Appreciate you, Melissa. Ty asks, Steph, did you see any of the second-year DBs in action today? Yeah, I saw all of the DBs in action today. I thought Lenore looked pretty good. One of the secondary drills I saw that was like happening right in front of me, I mentioned, was like Kyle Shanahan was throwing the ball, so it was kind of funny. He could throw a good spiral, of course. He was a former quarterback. But yeah, Lenore had a pretty good snag in that one, where I thought he actually reached for the ball and, made a great effort to get to it. So Lenore, I thought, looked good. Ambry Thomas, he didn't do anything that, like, I thought was super bad or super good, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't really notice him too much, to be honest with you, Ambry Thomas. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I saw so Grant Cohn mentioned the fact that the very deep throw that Nate Sudfield threw to Malik Turner, Ambry Thomas was on coverage. I didn't notice that Thomas was on the coverage. I just noticed that Turner made a nice catch and Sudfield made a really nice throw. But yeah, I guess Ambry Thomas was the one who allowed that big completion. So I think he's going to have to continue to improve and prove that he can get some pass breakups. You know, he could be aggressive when when the ball is coming towards him. I mean, I think that's something he needs to work on for sure. And then Hufanga, if you count Hufanga in with that, I saw plenty of him. To me, as I said, like, he's the unquestioned strong safety at the moment. He was at strong safety with the first team unit the entire practice. And just based on everything that we've been hearing about him throughout, minicamp till now, all the coaches, all the players, what they've been saying, he's the first one at every practice. I think he's the favorite right now, to be honest with you. But that could change, and if it does change, I'll be the first to let you know. All right. Melissa asks, thoughts on Steve Young not being allowed to meet Trey Lance with Jerry Rice? Melissa, are you talking about the time that they didn't let him into the facility because he was in a minivan? Is that the is that the incident we're talking about? First of all, I think it's hilarious that Steve Young drives a minivan. Like, what is that? I'm sure he still looks cool doing it. Yeah, the security guard. Yeah, that's pretty funny. The fact that he had to call John Lynch too. Like, imagine being Steve Young and the security guard doesn't know who you look like, or like he doesn't know that you're Steve Young. Like, how? They need to have like a list of their pictures. Steve Young, Joe Montana, Frank Gore, like all these like goats need to have their picture in the security room and be like, you see these guys? If they come in, if they're at the gate, you let them in no matter what. That's probably what should have happened, but that's just me. Kyle might be QB3. Yeah, man. He had some spirals going, but he also did throw some interceptions. So, but it's Kyle, so whatever. That's so funny. Yeah, I guess there was a rumor that Tariq Castro-Field intercepted Trey Lance. That did not happen. Tariq Castro-Field intercepted Kyle Shanahan. That's what happened. So, yeah. Ty asks, any worries about arm fatigue with Kyle throwing the ball so much? Yeah, Kyle might get arm fatigue. I mean, he's like in his 40s now. He's got the gray hair going. If anyone's going to get arm fatigue, it's Kyle. So he's going to be feeling that tomorrow. I don't think he's going to be able to throw. He's going to have to take the day off. Melissa asks, Steph, thoughts on Javon Kinlaw dominating, true or false? I thought Javon Kinlaw looked like a monster out there. He is a freak of a human being. He's huge. And as, my former co-host mentioned earlier today, Angie, you guys follow Angie, by the way. She was there at training camp today, and I think she'll be at a few others. She said that Javon Kinlaw does, in fact, look like he is in very good shape. And so it's not surprising that, he's dominating and that he's looking good. This is such a big year for him. And I really, truly feel like the rest of the defensive line is also rooting for him, as we as fans are as well, right? I mean, we want him to have a big year. He's filling in for DJ Jones full time now. He's going to have a big role. So, yeah. But again, he's coming back from his injury too, which Kyle Shanahan did say they're going to try to ease him in as well. So yeah, he's getting some time in practice, but they're also like easing him in. So it's not always going to be full go. They'll keep him out of some drills. But yeah, let's go back to the wide receivers. So Brandon Layuk, to me, he looks really good. He looks solid. One of the things I liked about Brandon Layuk too is that one of the quotes from after practice, Brandon Layuk said he was asked about him, pretty much coaching up Danny Gray on the sidelines and all of the wideouts, really, all of the young ones today. And Ayuk said Mohamed Sanu was that guy to me, so I feel like I owe it to those guys to give them the information that Sanu gave me. I think that's awesome, because now Ayuk feels like he owes it to these younger players to do the same thing. So Danny Gray is getting that knowledge passed down to him, and that, to me, that's the importance of veterans in your locker room, right? And especially, in the wide receiver room. We saw it a few years ago with Emmanuel Sanders, with Debo and Kendrick Bourne, and I feel like Emmanuel Sanders had a huge impact on, the both of those guys, and now we see Ayuk admitting that even having Mohamed Sanu, was a huge teacher and a coach for him, basically. So now we see Ayuk turning into that guy for, Danny Gray. Ty asks, what did you see from Danny Gray? I saw that he is fast as fuck. That dude is really fast, we knew this, right? Like, fast as advertised. He was fast as hell. And I'm gonna talk about one thing in particular, because it was like a special teams drill. So I'll talk about that in a bit. But Ray McLeod is also really fast. Like, those guys jumped out. Like, I see guys running in practice all day, and when you see a guy that's really fast, and it makes you go, whoa. Yeah, that's how fast they are. So I'm excited about those two. Really excited. Let's see. I freaked hearing Juice knocked out Aziz and heard D'Amico said in his helmet got up okay. Yeah, I think Aziz just got the wind knocked out of him, if anything. So he's doing all right, thankfully. Yeah, because that's a scary moment for sure. I think Brandon going through the doghouse, going through every bit of the hate last year, made him stronger to help Trey Lance through his and other wide receivers. Yeah, that too. I mean, I think that was a huge maturing few weeks for Brandon Ayuk last year. I mean, he had no choice but to, mature, and I don't know. We still don't know what the hell was the issue, what put him in the doghouse in the first place. But what we do know is that he came out of it, and he's a better player for it. So, yeah, I think I do agree with you, Melissa. I think those, few weeks really did make a big difference. What's going on, Sin? Happy you're here. So, yeah, to elaborate on the wide receivers. So this is what I wanted to talk about, because I have a feeling no one's really going to talk about this, because it's like a lot of people forget about special teams. But when I saw them doing the punt return drills, I was like, oh, this is interesting, because we've seen this team try to improve the special teams. They made it an emphasis this offseason to improve on special teams. So I made sure I paid attention. And what I saw is that Marcus Johnson, Keyshawn Johnson, Ray McLeod, and Danny Gray both got chances at returning punts in this punt return drill. And what I saw is that Ray McLeod and Danny Gray, as I said, are fast as hell. And it just jumps out. Like, I think returning punts and kicks are going to really help the both of them. Well, Ray McLeod, that's pretty much what they signed him for, right? So I think he's the favorite to return punts for this team, undoubtedly. But Danny Gray, the fact that he's getting that opportunity as well, and the speed of both of those guys, I think translates really well to being a really good punt returner. So, I'm really excited about that. I don't even know why I have my AirPods in, to be honest. Like I'm doing this thing solo. Like I don't need these. What am I doing? Sorry. Anyway. Yeah, so Ray McLeod, Danny Gray, both I think the favorites to take on some special teams return duties. And I'll be keeping an eye on that because again, I think that's like an underrated thing that we haven't talked about enough. I think it's going to be much improved this year. Melissa says, I hella respected he sat Shanny down and hashed it out to end it. That was amazing. Brandon is awesome. Yeah, definitely. It just showed Brandon Ayuk's maturity in going through that. And then Melissa also asks, do you prefer speed or someone like Juwan who is just clutch and gets open without it? I think you need a little of both, right? Like you need receivers who it would be nice if your top 3 receivers bring you a different set of skills, right? So like it's really nice to have a speed guy because it takes the top off the defense and it opens up things in the middle of the field. And but it's also nice to have a Juwan Jennings who has a knack for getting open in the red zone, who can move the chains. Juwan Jennings was huge in third down conversions and things like that. So you need, like Ty said, you definitely need both. I mean, if you can get one receiver who can do both of those things, like you got a wide receiver 1 most likely, right? So I think it's nice to have both. I think always a preference is going to be to a slightly more well-rounded wide receiver like a Juwan, because if you only have speed, then you need to have something else other than speed sometimes, because corners are getting fast these days too, so you need to have something a little extra. Melissa says, Steph, you gonna stay solo or have any more badass crossovers? Well, I'm always gonna have guests on my podcast. Like that's just a really big thing. And honestly, I feel like I'm very awkward solo potting. Like I've gotten used to it, and you guys commenting makes it so much easier because it feels like I'm having a conversation with you guys. But most of the time I just feel freaking awkward up here. By myself. So I like having guests, I really do. But definitely gonna do some solo pods, but I'll definitely have a lot of guest hosts as well. So we'll have a good mix. What do you prefer, Melissa? What do you guys prefer? Do you prefer solo pods or do you prefer the guests? Let me know. All right. Steph line speed, fast as fuck. Oh, like speed, yep. Fast as fuck. Both Ray McLeod and Danny Gray were fast as fuck today. You love to see it. Melissa, oh, that'd be awesome if you want to become a guest on the pod one time. Let's try it out. I'm down. All right, but I think I've pretty much gone over like everyone or like just everything, the big position groups and the big contributors of day 1 of training camp. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about the running backs because there aren't any pads and it's really hard to evaluate running backs right now because there's no one's going to tackle them. So they're just going to go right through the line. So it's tough right now without pads and until we see like actual game action. But what I do want to see from the running backs, and I didn't see that today. I don't know if they did any of these drills today, but I would like to see the running backs doing catching drills. That would be nice. Some little Anthony Lynn action going on. I would like to see it. So I think in tomorrow's practice, the offense is going to be facing the side closest to our bleachers. So hopefully I'll get a better look at the offense tomorrow. And I'll have another update for you guys tomorrow. And I'm going to be live tomorrow sometime as well. I'm going to see if I could keep it the same time just to, keep the consistency. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. And I'll have more updates for you guys. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm going to have those updates, live updates. Screw the notepad, screw the messy notes. I'm going to be tweeting my observations as I see them tomorrow during training camp. Definitely appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your night. Peace.